Fellow nerds, we are talking Invincible. We got season 2, episode 7, I'm Not Going Anywhere. And Sunday night, we'll talk about season 2, episode 8, I Thought You Were Stronger.
Well, here, you guys will be doing most of the talking. I haven't had time to watch it.
You didn't? Oh, you didn't watch episode 7 either?
No.
Oh,
So it's fine. I don't mind hearing about it, and I'll interject where I can. So go
okay.
ahead.
Well, I mean, episode 7, I'm Not Going Anywhere starts. We see Mark and Amber at a comic book convention. Definitely seems like they're getting over their awkwardness again. They're starting to kind of be a couple almost again. But of course,
Yes.
Mark has to leave.
But before they do, I'm sorry. I have to talk about my favorite joke in that scene
Oh,
because
yes.
it was almost identical to a couple of panels that they did in the comic, and I like what Keith always says, like this is kind of like our tagline in the comics. And
Uh,
so I am so glad that they found a way to put a version of that joke in this show. I love the fact that he goes up and he's talking to an animator, the one who makes a Seance Dog, and in the comic, he's talking to the writer of the Seance Dog comic. And he's like, so yeah, I mean, how do you do it? Like, how do you get the animation? And it's so meta. He's like, well, it takes a lot of time. Sometimes we do have to cut a few corners, and a lot of times what we'll do is we'll cover our mouth, and then you won't see it moving, and it really makes the animation much cheaper. And I love that they do that. In the comic, they just I think he says something like, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll repeat the same panel over and over, so we can basically copy and paste it, and it makes it a lot cheaper to. And so it's like it's essentially the same spirit of the joke, and I love that they did it. It was so good.
It
Uh,
was very well
but
done.
I love
and
that
all
Mark
of
is a
you
huge nerd too, and I love
start the
that he.
time.
What's that?
Start the timer. There's an Arnold on the board.
Oh, there was
It
is
started.
But yeah, I love that Mark is a huge nerd. I love that he's, attempting to work things out with Amber. Again, so I don't sound like a broken record. There are obviously some differences between the way that the story plays out in the comics versus the show. Some of the timelines are shifted, things are a little bit different. And I'm fine with that because I think it actually, so far, I think it's made the story flow better. So I look at this as, the creators looking at, okay, these are the stories in the comics. They're getting pretty much the same beat by beat. Like you can almost compare the panel to the show. It's just sometimes the things that we're seeing in the show would have taken place at an earlier point or maybe at a later point.
It's
So
just
I
a
am,
different way to tell the story, like they
yeah.
did on The Walking Dead, which is another Robert Kirkman
Hmm.
show. When he wrote the comics for this show, they did a lot of things out of order, but when they put it on screen, it didn't matter. It all worked out.
Well, sometimes they realize that, hey, they wrote it the first time, and as they reread it and come back to things, they're like, what if we switch that? It'd probably be better.
Yeah.
And in
Get
this
me out
episode,
of this chopper.
you know, I liked that he had to go save Rex. He left a comic book convention
Hmm.
to go save Rex because Rex went off on a
Yeah.
mission by himself, wanting to get back
Trying to
into
prove
it.
himself. Yeah.
And it's like he comes up against this giant, and he's like,
Mhm.
can barely take him down. And Invincible just comes and just beats the snot out of him, pretty much.
Right.
But once again, he's going to be called all the time. We get that in the season finale. He talks about it a little bit more. But in this episode, I thought we had a nice little side plot with Donald. Where oh, you want to know? Okay, we'll let you know. You've known about this the whole time. It was very Total Recall-y. You guys
You
remember in Total
asked us to
Recall?
erase your memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Total Recall, he finds out that he was part of the bad guys and he went under this transformation to infiltrate properly. So, yeah, Donald finds out he's asked for it. He sees all the files of all the times he's died and had his memory wiped. But then it helps him deal with Rick and what
Yep.
happened to him, and it helps him talk him down when he's, standing on the ledge and going to jump off.
Hmm.
And it's those little moments in Invincible where people aren't being beaten
Human
bloody
moments. Yeah.
that really make the show great. And they have those very human moments, and makes you just, while you're watching, be like, wow, that was nice. That was really well done. The animation, everything is so good. And then
It's like what we're talking about with the Bad Batch. I like that they don't just brush over Echo's trauma. I'm glad that they're not doing it in this because, yeah, having yourself torn apart and turned into some sort of like robo slave thing, like
Some kind of Terminator, like a Terminator. Yeah,
exactly.
that's perfect.
The skin endoskeleton. Yes.
But yeah, that's a traumatic moment. I don't expect anyone to get over it that quick, and so I do like that we had this very human moment away from superhero stuff, and I'm glad that Donald was able to like. I know more than you think, and I like that he like opened up his chest cavity to show like I get it more than you even realize.
Yeah, you. I'm not just saying I understand. I really do. Then we had Mark once again trying to go on a date with Amber. And unfortunately, a Viltrumite, Anissa, shows up.
She is psycho.
She doesn't really want to fight at first.
I don't think she was. I think she was ordered not to.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're probably right. And he ends up, a kaiju is attacking a ship, and so he's like,
Okay.
if you're really, but it was funny because, once again, we get this sort of, the Viltrumites think they're doing good for everybody. She's like, you really want to save lives? Let us rule. No one will,
Oh God, yeah, it's so culty the way that she's talking about this too. Yeah, I love that she's like, none of this would happen if you would just let us invade and conquer your world. I mean, everything would be better under Viltrumite rule, and she's saying it so like this is normal and you should accept it. And
But of course, the Viltrumites thinks humans are pets.
yeah,
But it'll be a nice life for you guys. We'll rub your head, and Dave, your minute is up, sir. 5 minutes is up. Sorry. But
It's
then
like that saying, the lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
yep,
Yep. So
exactly.
they just think that they know what's right, and that's all. That's how it's going to be.
They also think that all of these other planets are beneath them because they've lived their entire lives on on Viltrum, battling it out until they become the best of the best, or so they think.
Or so they think.
And, she knows that, Cecil's talking in his ear. She can hear it. She doesn't mind. She's doing her best to try to convince Mark that you would be much better off, with us ruling you, even though Mark isn't buying it for a minute, just because he knows the relationship between his father and his mother, I think, is a lot of why he's rejecting, his Viltrumite heritage, because what his dad said.
And even Cecil's trying to get him to take the easy way out. He's like, just tell her that you agree to her demands, kid. Come on. She's going to kill you. She's so much stronger than you. Just say you'll do it, and then we'll come up with a plan. But, Mark, good for him, sticking to his values, sticking to his morals. Like, no, I won't do it. I won't be like my father. I won't attack Earth. And, oh, man, good on him.
Yeah, good for Mark.
Good integrity.
Good thing he has a healing factor. But,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But even he's having a tough time, and probably a lot of people are going to die until Anissa steps in and takes out the kaiju. And then she's like, "Look at all the people I just saved, Mark." But he's still not buying it. And then she just beats the utter snot out of him.
It's a crater in the earth. Oh man.
And then,
Well, that'll convince anybody, really. Just if you say no, just get a beat down. Of course, that'll change your opinion on a lot of things.
I'm invincible. I don't know. You seem very invincible.
Well, it did.
But then we find out she wasn't sent there to kill him, to convince him.
Get on your mission, man.
Yeah.
Take over Earth. Get him ready for the Viltrumite.
We're coming at some point, so you better have this plan ready.
Now, do you know what I found to be the funniest part of this episode, and it has very little to do with this episode?
It's the fact that every time you say Viltrumite, I think of Vegemite sandwiches.
No, not at all. Not even a little bit.
Okay.
It's the fact that this aired last week. And what do you remember them dealing with in the waters in the Bad Batch last week? Big
Kraken.
old kaiju squid monster.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kraken.
And so when it came on Invincible, I'm like, really? What are the odds?
How did they
Kraken
come?
week. Release the Kraken week.
Right?
This
I was like,
week.
what are the odds that in the same week we would get two like Kraken themed episodes? It's like that was pretty cool.
It
That was
definitely
just my little mini tangent brought to you by Not Your Status Quo.
Brought to you by Johnny Depp, who says, "Why is the rum gone?"
And then Anissa leaves. She's going to report back to her Viltrumite bosses. And then, sadly, Mark breaks up with Amber.
I am so glad the way they did it in the show, though. I don't know if either of you have read the comics.
No, no, we've been over this.
Well, I forget. I've got a terrible memory.
He was talking to the people in the chat.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that was it. I was totally done. If any of you out there have read the comics, then I'm sure you're aware. They do this, it's very forced in the comics. They essentially make Mark and Amber kind of cheat on each other, but not really. Like, Amber goes out with a friend that she's been studying with in college. Goes out with him a couple of times, and you can tell he's really flirting with her and hitting on her. Finally, the thing that like wins her over with this guy is they're going out to a movie, and he gets a phone call, and she says, "Oh, do you have to go?" And he goes, "No, no. You know what? I took the night off. I'm going to, I'm going to spend it with you." And you just see this, in the comic panel, you see this glimmer in her eye because Mark, hasn't been able to say that to her. When he thinks he wants to take the night off, he has to go do superhero stuff. So, unfortunately, that's the route that they took in the comics. And at the same time, Mark was flirting with the idea of getting together with Adam Eve. So, they were kind of like, sort of, kind of cheating on each other, and then they came together and they were trying to play it off with each other like yeah, maybe we should break up, oh yeah, it's probably for the best. But like very little of it had to do with Amber being in danger. It was more about that Mark just wasn't around in the comics. So I like this better. I like that they involve her in his superhero life. I like the fact that they're actually addressing him being who he is and her just being human. Yeah, of course, she could get caught up in this. And we'll see again how that can affect other people in Mark's life in the next episode, too. And I like that. I like that they're showing that. They're mashing the worlds together and letting you know, look, this is a dangerous life for everybody involved.
And then we get a little scene with Alan the alien, all bulked up and as strong as a Viltrumite now.
Man,
wandering in space.
Good for him.
It was
good for him.
He basically, hey, I'm gonna find these Viltrumite prison, and he gets into a fight with some Viltrumites, holds his own pretty much, and then is knocked unconscious. And you see him dragging off.
I like the little. He opens the eye and
yeah,
playing dead.
and they drag him off, and obviously the next episode we know some things come with that, and then Mark gets the phone call from Angstrom.
Yep.
Basically saying he has Debbie and Oliver. Dun dun dun! Should we talk about episode 8 tonight? Do you care, Dave?
Well, it'd be timely.
It would be. You're right.
All right.
So, a lot of the times we talk about how we thought we had ideas about the title. And this title is I Thought You Were Stronger. I was not ready for those words to be uttered. But we'll get to that. We're not jumping to the end. We get a Dave special, a multiversal extravaganza.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it was done was, I thought
it was clever.
It was very well done, yes. Angstrom
This is another one of those instances where it was like panel for panel. It was like straight out of the comic. Save for the one thing that I shared with you in Slack.
Yes. So basically, he has, his mom and his brother, and Mark goes there, and anytime he goes after him, he opens a portal to another sort of multiverse, and Mark goes there, and we saw The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
That was
that
pretty
was
clever. I like that. We saw uh, Agent Spider and Professor Ock, who was what Doug was just referencing to in the comics. It was Spider-Man and Doc Ock, but obviously with the animation, they couldn't use Spider-Man and Doc Ock, so they used Agent Spider, who was voiced by Josh Keaton, who did the Spectacular Spider-Man voice. I love on Prime, you can pause it, see who all the voice actors are.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then there's one where he's camping out and just talking to some campers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time he opens a portal, like it's just this another. It's like he's figuring it out, and I need to find a way to. And they're just kind of like looking around, like, all right, man, we're just trying to like make some spores, dude.
Yeah. Why are you bringing us down? But while he's gone, we do get a scene where Debbie attacks Angstrom, and he ends up just snapping her arm in half. God, every time I think they're going to show something, they're not going to show me anything worse than they've already shown me. They show that, and they keep showing her arm like
the bone.
Yeah, it's the bone is extruding out of the skin. And Oliver's freaking out a little bit, even though he's unharmed throughout the episode. But I do like the scene too, where Angstrom, by the way, voiced by Sterling K. Brown, just tremendous. I can't say enough about all of the voice acting in Invincible. I can't believe all of the people they got. You got Mark Hamill, Seth Rogen, Stephen Young, Sandra Oh, Clancy Brown, J.K. Simmons, and I'm probably missing some. I can't remember who they all are.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Walter Goggins does Cecil.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's Billy Bob.
No, it's Walter Goggins.
Are you sure?
Positive. Let me look it up again just to be sure.
Pretty sure that was Billy Bob. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Let me check.
But yeah, you're right. It is an impeccable voice cast.
Zazie Beetz. It is Walter Goggins as Cecil. Jillian Jacobs. Zachary Quinto is in it. Ross Marquardt.
Oh yeah.
Dave Navarro does a voice. Additional voices. Yeah, Clancy Brown is Damien Darkblood. Jay Farrow is Bulletproof. Seth Rogen, Mark Hamill. Ben Schwartz, Shapeshift. Cliff Curtis is Paul. Mashallah Ali is Titan.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an all-star cast.
Rob Delaney, John Hamm, Callista Flockhart.
Callista Flockhart?
Yep, she's April. Tatiana Malatze is the one from the Aquilini.
Neslani.
Yep. So, thank you. I can never pronounce her name. I know I never have trouble with that, so it's the only one I can't pronounce.
Right.
And then
Rian Johnson.
Yeah, that's his name, Rian Johnson. But the one thing I don't know if you know this. Speaking of flashbacks, Ezra Miller did a voice. I forget the character now, but he was a guy who was experimenting on somebody. God, why can't I remember the name now? But he was replaced in season 2. Ezra Miller is no longer doing the voice.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, no clue. WB seems to think he should continue getting major roles.
Even Amazon, who has Lex Luthor as their CEO, is like, I don't know.
Shall we for that?
But, he's bringing him through, and Mark loses it when he sees kind of what has happened to his mom, and he ends up dragging Angstrom. Actually, before that, it was kind of nice when he's like, when I told you earlier I was rebuilt, they made my body stronger. And he's pretty tough. Not Viltrumite tough, but a pretty tough guy. And, they're battling, and Mark ends up, they go through a portal, and they're on some, Dune-like planet.
Mark does what my favorite thing that Spider-Man does and what Superman does. He admits, oh, good, I've been holding back. And that's, to me, oh my gosh, I love when superheroes say that, because it's those type of superheroes that they know their own strength, they know exactly how strong they are, and they know they need to kind of pull their punches a bit, because otherwise they would literally kill everybody. And that to me is true heroics, when they know that they could crush in somebody's head with one punch, and they purposely will be a lot softer because they're not there to kill them.
Yep.
You get 45%.
But he
I'm
ends
gonna step
up
away from it and get another drink. I'll be right back.
okay.
Yeah.
He ends up just losing control, and the beat down he put on Angstrom was tough to watch. He kept hitting, and the blood is just going everywhere, and I'm just like,
Oh my God. Did that
Stop
seem like
it.
too much blood?
stop it! He's already dead.
Right. Oh my gosh.
It
Yeah.
did. There was so much.
That was more than a couple of bodies worth.
And then when he uttered that line, I thought you were stronger. I was like, oh my God, dude.
God.
Mark.
And just like the convincing that he's trying to do to himself as he's walking through that wasteland, just like, man, I had to. No, I had to. He would have hurt my family. He said he was strong. You said you were strong. And he's like, oh man, you can tell it is tearing him up.
Yep. And they didn't let it go too quickly. We do have the whole time I'm like, how is he going to get back? This is crazy. I'm like, how are they going to write themselves out of this? So when we see it's a future
time travel shenanigans.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm fine with that, because
bit cheap, but okay. It's what they did in the comics too.
Yeah, it wasn't the best thing, but it was something. And it was nice because the one thing that it did supply was, knowing from Doug that, he had feelings for Eve, and we know that she has had feelings for him. When he's rescued by these future Guardians of the Globe, it's the robot and Adam Eve and I don't remember.
Guy with a hammer.
Monster Girl.
Yep.
But we see Eve run up to him before he leaves, and he's like, listen, I've loved you. I've always loved you. When you get back, tell me in the past or whatever. Either you do or you don't. Just let me know either way, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we see, well, first him making sure I did the scene where they're standing out and the house is finally like rebuilt.
I love that. Man, 2 gas leaks? What are the odds?
I better get my place checked out. Yeah, you should.
Oh, man.
And, he even has that discussion with his mom. And it just makes sense. He's like, listen, I can't go to college.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What am I going to be, a dentist?
Yeah.
I can't do any of these things. I have these powers. I basically have to help people. I can't have a full-time job and have to leave every 10 minutes. It's never going to work. And, he kind of realizes that. And it's kind of a nice, whoa, kind of a nice moment. And, he goes and he reaches out. He finds Eve. He's really close to kind of letting her know, but he can't.
I still think it's too soon for him, though.
It was.
And again, I am glad that they did this differently in the show, because, like I said in the comic, it was almost like he had realized, you know what? I actually want him and Eve together. I got to find some convoluted way to make this happen now. So I'm glad they're letting it breathe in the show.
They did the right
Depending
thing.
on how many seasons they got, they can let it breathe for a little while.
Well, we do know that season 3 is being worked on, and hopefully we won't have as long of a wait. But, it was nice. He kind of had his hand over there, and then he kind of pulled it back, and there was, obviously they have feelings for each other, and it's nice they're not rushing to it. He did just break up with Amber. It's okay. They can move on. And actually, what happened before that, I was kind of laughing at, where the 2 archaeologists.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I thought this was going to lead into season 3. We see those 2 archaeologists. They break into that, tomb.
That haunted tomb, yeah.
And then they awaken Kahor. And I'm like, oh, and he's like, I have to, inhabit a male That's kind of sexist or whatever. And I'm like, oh wow, is this going to be the season 3 villain? And Mark just blows through the
Unrelated.
tube. I was like, oh man, they
But
got
it
me.
was kind of a funny scene because it was like so awkward. They're like, oh man, oh no, we're dealing with this ghost of a mummy. He's like, I must inhabit a male. Oh, you're both women? Yeah. Is that a problem? Oh, and then he's just kind of like floating there, like, what do I do now? Oh God.
He was Beelzebozo.
Most definitely. And then to finish this season, we see Alan out of the Viltrumite prison. He is trying to convince Nolan.
I love that Nolan never did figure out who he was because every time Nolan faced him, never talked to him, just beat him up.
Yep.
And then flew back down to Earth. And that's what he told Mark to do too. And so I like that, like, he's like, dude, my name's Alan. I've got a name. And he's like, Nolan's like, oh yeah, you're that alien.
He's like, come on, man, it's Alan.
They're all aliens, you weirdo.
And he's taking his beat down from those guys, and he's like, just wants to walk back to his cell. He is good with them executing him.
Yeah.
But then we find out at the end how guilty he feels about all that he's done to these lesser creatures or whatever. And he says he misses his wife.
That last line felt just a tad bit icky to me. It's just like, I don't know how he means it.
Well, right. He thought of her as a pet, so it wasn't like he,
exactly.
loved her and missed her. It was like, I kind of miss her. I don't have her running up and snuggling me when I walk in
Wagging her
the door.
tail. I assume she had a tail, right?
Of course, yes. but even if it is icky, it does seem like we are going to get Nolan recruited against the Viltrumites, and they're going to need all the power they can get. Obviously, with Mark and the Guardians of the Globe, they would be wiped out pretty quickly if a Viltrumite army showed up at Earth. So, I'm assuming
Mark needs to read the books.
Yes, and with Alan and the Viltrumite from that planet. But it does feel to me like, and I don't know, like they're going to take the fight to the Viltrumites. Like we're going to see, maybe not season 3, because I don't know if they're powerful enough or ready to go yet. But they may take it. I don't know what the Viltrumite home planet is, or where they're
Viltrum.
Oh yeah, Viltrum. They have said that. They may take the fight to them, because otherwise, if they just wait on them, it could be bad news for them. They need to strike at them. Get that flash strike at Viltrum before. So
He said it.
But once again, overall, these 2 episodes were great.
Really good. Solid episodes.
They just, it's great. They have 8 episodes every season. They're not doing too much. I really, almost all of, the animation we've been getting lately kind of does this. We're only getting 10 episodes in the X-Men, only 15 in a season for the Bad Batch, only 8 in Invincible. There's enough time to tell a good story.
Most anime now, they only release 12 episodes max per season.
Yeah, it's like the Bad Batch is a standout for having extra episodes now. And it used to be like Smallville. Hit the button. It was 22 episodes a season. In fact, one season was 24 episodes, and that's what they had to write. They didn't have the shorter seasons that they had now, but they have to pack it more with more story than they didn't have room for filler. You know what I mean?
Well, that's good. It's enough to tell the story, add enough elements in, but not too much where they have to add filler episodes and do all that stuff. It's perfect. They're really doing a good job. A lot of people are against all the streaming services and stuff, and there are too many. But the fact that streaming has kind of changed how seasons work on shows, it's almost always for the better. Almost, less episodes, better writing. We're not getting, man, you have to have 24 episodes. Well, I think 22 was the norm. You have to have 22 episodes, and they have to be ready to go September 4th for our fall season. We need to have a fall season, and you need to do this. They just say, write your show and come up with it. You need 8 episodes? Sure. You need, 6? We'll do that too. You want a streaming movie?
That was something that I was going to say.
Mhm.
If shameless plug, if you haven't seen it, go watch our X-Men review of the most recent episode. Something that you had mentioned, Keith, was that they had to do what they had to do with the time that they were allotted. How much of that do you think is true? Like, how much of the time frame is being forced on these writers and artists for these series that are on streaming services?
I think streaming services like Prime, nothing. But I do think Disney Plus, they may have a thing where they're like, we may want to show these episodes on the Disney Channel or Disney XD at some point. So they may have to fit more within that 22-minute episode thing.
That.
Only because I've noticed that X-Men 97 has been about 22 minutes each episode. They're not straying from that path. And that's the only thing I can think of is why they're doing it.
I hadn't even thought of that. Every now and again I forget real TV exists outside of streaming.
Because we know Disney Plus did it with Miss Marvel. Those were on ABC. They came on and
they did it with She-Hulk, didn't they?
No.
Thought they did.
Not yet. I know Dave's going to have his DVR set up when they do.
No, I'm getting YouTube TV just for that, so I can have unlimited. No, it's like British TV. British TV, at least the shows that I watch, they take as many episodes and as much time as it needs to tell the story, and that's it. And I think that when that spilled over to the streaming service, I thought it was a great thing. Actually, the first time I saw that was with like Dexter, when I noticed they're not making 22 episodes, they're only making like 12. I'm like, what? That's crazy. Why would you only have 12? Because that's all they needed to tell the story. And when that happened, that just changed everything. You have 8 episodes, 6 episodes. As long as you're telling the whole story, I love it.
I remember that's what we were saying about.
Story.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said at the end there.
I said as long as it's not a multiversal story.
Right.
See, I'm looking forward to what you think of the season finale.
I think you'll like this.
I think you will too.
Yeah. Because it's not bad the way that they do it.
They have been doing it differently. So I'll be interested to see what it is.
So should we rate this episode, Doug? These episodes, I should say?
I was about to say, I think these ones, since they didn't air together, I think these need to be rated separately.
I agree.
Alrighty, then you go first.
Dave, would you like to rate the episodes?
I would like to give them an incomplete. Doug, how about you?
All right. So for the first episode in this group that we watched, this is episode 7. I liked it. I liked the way that they did it because to me, like I said, it was different enough from the way that they played it out in the comics, but they also still contained enough of the right type of jokes. And I was so happy that they included that Comic-Con scene. And I am also very happy that this is going to sound weird. I'm happy that they put Amber in danger. I'm glad that they actually included that because I think it adds more stakes as to maybe why they shouldn't be together. And it also adds to, in the next episode, when you see Mark kind of floating above the college, watching her because he wants to go and talk to her. He wants to be comforted by her, but he knows he can't. And so he takes off, and you can see she kind of looks back, but she's like, was that Mark up there? And so I like that they did it that way because it felt more genuine in this show, their relationship. That they that they're trying. They are really trying to make it work. It did not feel genuine in the comics. And so for this, for the first episode, episode 7, I'm gonna give it. God, I think I'm gonna give it a 7.5 It was good. It was pretty darn good. Anissa is she's not as vicious in the show so far as she is in the comics. She's a straight up psycho in the comics. But yeah, I'd say that was about a 7.5. The next episode, so good. I was really wondering. I was wondering if they were going to go the same route with having Angstrom just suddenly show up and um, hold Mark's mom and Oliver basically hostage. Because I was like, I don't know if it would work the same because the way the timelines are different, I wasn't sure how it would work because we really haven't spent a lot of time with Angstrom in this season. And I think that's a bit of a disservice to him because I think we could have done more other than just seeing him pop up here and there. It was a good episode, don't get me wrong. It was a good episode, but him as a character, until he started having these, I'll call them like multiversal strokes, until he started having those where he was like seeing flashes from other universes, and it was like basically beating himself with this. We didn't have a lot of character development with him this season. We saw him in the intro episode, and then we saw little flashes at like the end of a couple of episodes, and that was pretty much it. So I think we could have done more with getting to know him a bit better. You look like you want to say something.
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. um, but overall, I'd say for this season finale episode, I told Keith that to me it didn't feel like a season finale. It just felt like another Invincible episode. It was good, but it didn't wrap up the same way that season one's finale did. I felt like it was I don't know. Like I said, it didn't feel like an end. It felt like to be continued, I guess. More of anything. Like we'll see you the next episode. But I like I really like the fact that again we're seeing like this mirror. We're seeing that Amber is in danger for being with Mark. We see that Mark's mother is in danger. She gets that her arm gruesomely snapped. We see that possibly Oliver could have been in danger. I don't know. He's a tough kid. Um, but yeah, like Mark is realizing I can't go to school. Like first off, what he's saying is, what am I going to get out of it? When am I going to be a dentist? But also underneath that, I'm just putting the entire school in danger. I had literal aliens show up to my school to try and take me back to their planet. What if it's Viltrumites next time? So excellent episode. It didn't feel like an end, but it was still a very good episode, especially with having Alan talk to Nolan. That was so great. I'm gonna give this one an 8. So 7.5 and then an 8.
Okay, I enjoyed both of these episodes. They did a really good job in the first episode with Mark and Amber's relationship. And like Doug said, seeing her in danger when Anissa threatened her, and she could have easily snapped her neck, and Mark could have done nothing about it. So it's not so much, there's any bad feelings between them, but he understands. Listen, I just can't be, with her. And then the whole stuff with Donald and Rick that went on, that little subplot, I thought was executed so well. Anissa showing up and basically just trying to be like, listen, become a company man, because I can beat the living crap out of you without a problem, and I'll save lives. We want order. Just very well done. While watching it, I was just like, wow, man, who's this character? Oh man, this is great. And then, Cecil begging him, just agree. She will kill you. Just agree. We can, stop it later. But he would not. He refused to say that because he didn't mean it. He just wouldn't do it. It's the Viltrumite in him. And then we even get at the end, we get that nice little scene with Alan, faking being captured. And then the wonderful, cliffhanger with Angstrom calling Mark and him having to run off because he has his, mother and Oliver, mother and brother. I'm going to give this episode an 8. I thought it was really well done. So great. And then we had the season finale. And I do agree with Doug. It didn't feel like a season finale. There's still so much stuff going on that we know is going to bleed into season 3. And the fact that Angstrom his story was basically the first episode a little bit, his origin, and then the finale in this finale episode. It wrapped up quick. I didn't feel it was rushed too much, but it didn't feel like an overall season sort of villain type guy. But it was still really well done. You know, we got all of those wonderful little multiverse scenes that I thought were just, you know, not just thrown in there for fun. It was fun, but it wasn't just done for fun. The way they handled it with Angstrom throwing them in all these different dimensions, I thought was well done. Showed how powerful of a villain Angstrom really was. And with Debbie, you know, Mark's mom telling him, like, he may be the villain in every other universe, but basically look at what you're doing right now. You think we're the villains, but look at what you're doing. And it really didn't hit home with him too much because he was so angry, but still really well done. And the fact that we get, I don't know how they got all of these voice actors to do all these voices. You know, we talked about it earlier. Sterling K. Brown was, money through, was tremendous as Angstrom in this episode. And even, you know, Stephen Young doing, you know, working with him here was great. You know, all these little plot lines. You know, we even got the Immortal. I don't think we talked about this, but we found out that Duplicate.
Oh my god, yeah, we totally skipped about with Kate. Yeah. Oh
wow. There's a Zero, and she ends up letting him know. She's like, I was never out in public. It was always my duplicates. Yada yada. I like that.
Look older?
The what?
Did she look older to you?
She did.
I was gonna say, I'm like, she does not look like the teenager that the Immortal was essentially dating.
But and the only real downside to me on this final episode was how, you know, Mark escaped that dimension after, you know, he killed, you know, Angstrom. But everything else was great, and how powerful the line was when he was like, I thought you were stronger. And just his depression over what he did and his anger was delivered perfectly. I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm happy, you know, we have and them tricking me with Cahor. I mean, come on, how dare you guys trick me like that? But, you know, we get the little, you know, tease of Amber and Mark maybe kind of having some feelings for each other, and things might progress in the next season, and then finally ending with Alan and Nolan on the Viltrumite prison. And Doug's right, man, their conversations were just great. Oh, it's the alien. My name's Alan. And he's just, but, you know, we get some stuff, and it leads us really wanting season 3. So please, Prime Video, please give that to us sooner rather than later, or we will march at dawn. I'm not joking.
From what we understand, based on some news articles that came out, it is supposed to come sooner. I just don't know what that means. Hopefully that means it'd be nice this year. I don't know if we can guarantee it, but that would be nice.
Even early 2025 would be nice.
We may march at dawn, but we don't know where we're marching to.
That's right. But for all of those for all of those reasons, I'm going to give the season finale an 8.5. Thought it was very well done. I mean, I honestly, Invincible. I'm glad I haven't read the comics. I've been debating back and forth whether I should pick them up and read them, but I may wait till this is over and then go back and read them. Because
that's fair. Are you ready for a video edit? You're editing the video. Keith, don't you feel?
Hey fellow nerds, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of this stuff, make sure that you check out our Twitch stream. We try to do these live Sunday or Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Keep an eye on our social media to find out when you can join in live and chat with us during these live streams. Also, as usual, don't forget to check out our other social media. Add us at Twitter, comment down below, and we'll see you next time right here on Not Your Status Quo.